Welcome to Understanding Tekken. This video will hopefully push you through a plateau by help explaining topics such as punishment, movement, and etc. So let us start in the beginner levels and then move on to more intermediate and lastly advanced topics. Starting with punishment. Punishment consists of block punishment, whiff punishment, and what I like to call counter hit punishment. So why is punishment important? Truly. Well, block punishment starts as low as -10 and goes as high as -15. And anything above -15 and 15 is launch territory. Some players say that they struggle with getting plus frames on their character. Well, block punishment is an easy way to do damage and also get frames. Even something as jabbing as -10, it will leave you at +8, which is a crazy amount of frames. However, noticing your jab connecting is difficult when it's an I-10 punish. So you need to know your character's I-10 punish because it's much more easier to input, and you also can know when you're plus instead of just doing a jab and then trying to confirm off a +8. For example, Kazuya 122. It is +4 on hit and 25 damage. It's his one of his I-10 punishes, and it doesn't knock down compared to 112. But this one, you get +4 and 25 damage. So when they're -10, you can easily do damage and be +4. So when you're wondering how to get plus frames, punishment is an easy way to get plus frames, and it's an easy way to get through the first few ranks. However, you do need a lot of knowledge on many characters to know what moves and strings are punishable, so you could actually have the muscle memory to do punishment. So punishment training and replay mode are good ways to develop muscle memory for punishment training. And the last thing about block punishment is the higher punishes your character has are usually, one of them are heat engagers, therefore you could get your health back and be left at +17, and some of them are even heat launchers. But next is whiff punishment. First, explaining what whiffing is. Whiffing is an attack that neither hits nor is blocked. Quick moves like jabs, they recover very fast because they return to the neutral very quickly. Slower moves like counter hit launchers, usually like Jin's forward 4, generic down forward 2s, and hop kicks are all slower moves that recover pretty slow, so it leaves them open to a whiff punishment. And a whiff punishment means the opponent is stuck in the animation, so even if they hold back, their character is still in the animation trying to return to neutral, so they cannot block. A good whiff punishment will be a launcher, such as a hop kick or an electric, or whatever your character has. However, it is fine to throw out a big hitbox and get a knockdown or just damage that way instead of letting them whiff for free and get nothing. Now it's good to practice. For example, throwing out hop kicks if you think your opponent has whiffed like really hard, usually on a slower move, to get a free launch rather than going for nothing at all and getting nothing and returning to neutral. So it's good to check in replay mode if your whiff punishment was too slow, or maybe you just have to throw out a faster punish when they throw out that certain moves when they whip, or maybe you just didn't confirm the whip fast enough. And if you go in practice mode and actually just run up the hop kick instead, you could have got the punish. So that makes your muscle memory work faster. So the more you practice, you'll slowly get faster until the point where you start whiff punishing. Well, not everything, but you know what I'm talking about. And even if you can't get the punish, but your opponent whiffs and you could dash, usually they're holding back because they're not trying to get counter hit and they're just trying to block so you don't hit them when they're whiffing. And then usually you have a mental frame advantage, but that is a whole nother topic which I will not be explaining in this video. And the last form of punishment is counter hit punishment. I made the term up. For example, you block something and you're left at +12. Instead of taking a guaranteed punish, you go for a chunky low, which it isn't I-12, so it's not a proper punish. However, your opponent is just holding back, just in case you miss the punish, so they can block it, and then punish you. But if you throw out a chunky low, you know, it's very risky because you might be able to get hop kicked. I'll lab it right now, and I probably will show up a video right here of me doing it. And for example, you block as Jin, and they are -10. You could do down back 4, and you're left at +3 because they're gonna probably hold back, and you're gonna be left in a good situation. And if they mash, you could counter hit them with this low. So maybe if you throw it out down 2 instead, you could get a counter hit launch. And when they were just -10, and they just decided to be mashy. However, it is very risky, and if you delay it and they return to neutral and then hop kick you, you will get punished and launched. This is very risky, but if you don't think the proper punish will KO, you could go for maybe a chunkier low or maybe a setup that puts you in a good frame advantage to hopefully close out the round. The next topic I'll be talking about is movement, consisting of backdashing, sidestepping, and dashing forward. Movement is very important because it helps develop block and whiff punishment. Backdashing helps force a whiff, or dash blocking, which you can block a punishable move and then punish them, or you're left plus in their face by them throwing out a keep out and you block it. For example, Jin's 4-4, if you dash and then blocked his keep out attempt, he is now left at -8, you're left at +8, and you end your turn. And this is a good way to also get frames. And furthermore, knowing when to backdash and do the options above will make your opponent second guess what is the best option and throw off their tempo. To know when to commit to movement, you need a reason why. And if you're just backdashing just to make space against a certain character because at a close range, they are very scary, or maybe you're just playing time, you just need a reason and not just do it mindlessly. Because if you backdash and keep space, they're trying to end the round. They could be scared of whiffing because you're backdashing. So don't endlessly backdash unless you have the advantage, because then you have to dash in, break the opponent's defense, and it's much harder, especially if they have good keep out. Next, sidestepping. I went over sidestepping in a video, which I'll summarize shortly. I said to sidestep as low as -7 if the move has pushback, or you could sidestep as high as +5, which is an electric. Sidestepping in the neutral is very hard because the move could track you, and it's pretty hard to sidestep, so I usually reserve it for certain frame situations. If I know the opponent's going to throw out a linear option, and I could sidestep. For example, a common frame situation is +3 or -3. It can be flipped. You could be +3, you could do this, -3, you could do this. So your opponent could do. However, that's where mind games develop. But anywho, for example, you're left at -3 and you think your opponent is going to throw a slow linear option, usually a chunky mid that's linear and will counter hit launch you or counter hit slower options. You could sidestep / sidewalk. Hopefully the move, doesn't have a natural tracking to a certain direction and it's completely linear. You'll avoid the attack, and then there will be whiffing and recovering right in your face. You could get an easy launch instead of just blocking, which then they're probably just left at like -9, -8, and you will get nothing, and then neutral will fall upon the game. And for example, if they do throw out a jab, like, you may be able to step it. However, it is hard to whiff punish. As I said, it's hard to whiff punish jabs. They recover very fast. However, it's not impossible. I have launched people for jabbing and then electric thing. So you could also do a hop kick on a hard read. But usually, if you want to be safe, you could do like a jab or a low just to get some damage. But if you really want to cash out, try to throw out a electric, a launcher, something. If you think you're fast enough. If you're not, take your mental frames or take your pokes. And I personally recommend the counter hit type of punishment when they whiff jabs. For example, when I'm playing Jin and they're whiffing, they like whiffing, but it's jabs, so they're probably gonna recover fast, and they'll probably throw out more jabs to keep me out. I like doing down two, high crushing counter hit launcher, and get a free launch. So, you know, well, that wasn't a counter hit option. However, that is a good way to, I guess it's a good way to take advantage of mental frames, um, and tendencies. Um, I also recommend doing the counter hit type if they are like -3, and if you don't fear them sidestepping, you could throw out a mid. You think they might do a slower option, you could counter hit them that way because it's not punish because it's not in punishment range. However, you know it could work. It is a two-player game though, so your opponent can do the same thing. As I said, if you're +3, they're -3. They could step your slower linear option, but if they were throwing out that option, then you could sidestep. It's all about reading the opponent, which will be the last topic I will be discussing. And lastly, dash blocking is a bit hard because you could get clipped when dashing forward, but when done effectively, you could beat keep out attempts and be plus in your opponent's face. And like I said earlier, you could punish block strings if they try to keep you out, or punish punishable strings or moves. And the last topic is reading the opponent, which your opponent could also do to you. Everything that I stated before, your opponent can do. But for example, you may not know it, but you may backdash exactly 3 times and then throw out a keep out, or maybe you might backdash 3 times and then sidestep, backdash twice into a sidestep. Knowing the tendencies of your opponent and yourself is a great way to win. Make your opponent throw out unsafe strings so you can block it until they throw it out. That's a tactic. Another scenario is your opponent always mashes at +1. So they jab, they block it, and then they jab again. You could sidestep and then hop kick on a hard read, or more realistically, you could get a smaller punish or a counter hit punish. Your opponent may be autopiloting and not even noticing it because they do not change up their tendencies. And I'll list more scenarios below. For example, the opponent's HP is getting very low and he still has heat. It's very bad to die with heat, so he'll try to use it. Your defense is really good, so he can't use any free heat engagers. So he does a heat burst. And thankfully, you can actually sidestep heat burst now. And through a timing read, you could either a counter hit him before the armor activates, because people like using armor. Heat burst when they're minus to pop armor so they can armor through your move. Or you could do a small sidestep or sidewalk. However, you need to preemptively do it, and you can't do sidestep mid heat burst animation because it stops time. And if you got to confirm the whiff, launch, easy. Same with Rage Art. If your opponent gets slow and you try to do a slower move, your opponent uses Rage Art, you might lose, you might win. It's a good knowledge to have that this guy might use Rage Art now. Like, he's very down to use it. Same with Heat. You could also do the same with Heat Smash. Heat Smashes are mostly linear. So let's say your opponent's heat is about to run out. They might dash up, try to do a big hitting mid, trying to heat dash or heat smash. And if you do a sidewalk or maybe counter hit them before they actually activate the heat, then you can get a counter hit or a launch. Movement is a very good way to force whiffs. It could also evade counter hit attempts and keep out attempts. And unless your opponent is at a very high level, they're not going to switch things up because it is a first to 2. So do things like dashing up and doing nothing into a low, or maybe move forward a little bit, do a little dash forward, and then do a low. You know, make them think you might do the low, you might not do the low. You know, it's really good to keep your opponent from just standing for free. So you know they could consider ducking, start hitting with mids, heat launchers, etc., etc. So become ambiguous. And that is the video. I hope everyone enjoyed it. If you made it this far, like and subscribe. It would mean a lot. If you like these forms of videos, it is scripted, if you can't tell. And let me down in the comments if you liked it. And see you guys next time. I did mess up a couple times. However, I did kind of mess up the script. However, I will start editing now. So peace, guys.